What's up everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to rank every shoe in the LaMelo Ball line, and we're going to start it off with my least favorite shoe of the line, which is also coincidentally the most recent release, as it's the Puma MB.04. They retail for 130 euros or dollars. The retail price luckily hasn't changed much throughout the years. I think it's a very decent price for what you get with the shoe, and there's just a few main reasons why I don't like them. My biggest issue with them is that they feel extremely clunky, especially the materials here in the forefoot. While we do have a kind of mesh-like synthetic material underneath, we have this huge plasticky overlay almost all around the upper, and that just makes them feel incredibly stiff. Takes a long time to break in, they're not breathable at all, and all these things just don't make me like them and don't make me appreciate how they feel on foot. Something I also noticed with Puma shoes is that the insole, for whatever reason, kind of heats up the bottom of my foot like crazy. So when I'm playing with Puma shoes for a longer time, my feet feels like they're getting burned from like the bottom up, and that's a really weird feeling, and I notice it with Puma shoes way quicker than with other shoes. And in my opinion, it's just because the insole itself is actually pretty thick. There's a lot of compression there, so my feet are compressing that, and the materials here are not breathable at all, so that all that heat, all that friction gets trapped in there and just heats up my feet, and it's just a very uncomfortable feeling. Another thing that's hit or miss with these is the traction performance. I know a lot of you absolutely hate them, some of you really like them, and both sides don't really understand why the other side has that certain opinion. I can understand both sides, because on clean courts these were actually pretty good and also better than some other shoes I've tried this year. But as soon as there's a little bit of dust on the court or small amounts of debris, you're just gonna slide like crazy. The durability also isn't the best for outdoor courts, and also if the outdoor court is dirty, these really don't have a good bite. Unfortunately, that has been an issue with the MB line. We're going to talk about that with the other models as well, as you're probably aware. One more thing I really don't like, and that's also got to do with the upper, is this crazy oversized tongue. I don't know what they were thinking while doing this. You can see it moves up way higher than the actual shoe. For one, I don't think it looks good, and it also doesn't feel good on foot. It goes up way too high, it presses against your shin a little bit, and it's just a weird feeling on foot. The things that I do like about the shoe is that they are actually quite supportive, contrary to common belief, because everybody always thinks it's LaMelo's shoes that make him get injured, but actually it's just injuries that you can't really control. They have good support. You've got a heel corner. All those plasticky overlays actually make for a really supportive feeling on hard lateral movements, or if you're doing LaMelo like StockX or whatever. And you also have a shank plate, which adds good torsion support. As you can see, very hard to bend, which usually shows that they have good torsion support. The lacing system also does a good job, so the lockdown actually is something I do like, and the cushioning setup is actually also a feature I do appreciate. It's a very nice and soft setup. It's more for impact protection than for bounciness, and it's really a plush feeling and less of a court feel feeling, but still a very nice and comfortable feel underneath your foot. We've got an EVA midsole that's got some nitrofoam pucks in the heel and in the forefoot. Kinda feel like there's a zoom unit in there in the heel or in the forefoot, just for comparison if you've never had a Puma shoe with that setup. And as I said, just a very soft feeling, a comfortable feeling, nice underfoot. That's it for the MB.04 already. Let's move on to number 3 on my list. The name suggested already, the MB.03 is number 3 on my list, so my third favorite shoe out of the 4. I really like the design. That's something I forgot to say about the 4s as well. They look pretty cool, but I think these do look better than the 4s. Even the collabs on the 4s are just a little bit better. You had the Scooby-Doo collab. You really have some awesome colorways. You've got the Golden Child colorway. Oh no, I actually don't have it here, but that's the MB1, the Golden Child colorway. They made a similar one for the MB.04, and the launch colorway, the La France colorway, also looked really nice. Now back to the MB.03, very similar cushioning setup, so that's a plus for sure. EVA midsole with nitrofoam pucks in the heel and forefoot, essentially the same as I said for the MB.04 cushioning goes for the MB.03. Soft, good impact protection, but not very bouncy. The support features are also very similar. We got a heel corner, we got a shank plate, we got a lacing system with some extra kind of flywire like cables here on the side that work really well. So lockdown is also good. And now again, the things that I don't like about them, traction performance is hit or miss yet again. The pairs with the translucent outsole kind of grip better, especially this colorway is really cool because it has a glow in the dark outsole. It was released for Halloween, and you have a lot of Halloween accents and themes on this shoe, which I really like, and I think it looks really cool. But of course, looks are not everything. For just going for looks, the LaMelo line would be way high up in all my rankings, but as I said here, the traction performance is also hit or miss. Dustier courts are really an issue for them. Clean courts, you'll have top tier bite, even a little bit harder than on the MB.04. I also wouldn't take these outdoors because the outsole really isn't that durable. The main reason why I like this one a little bit more than the MB4 is the difference in materials. We also have all synthetic materials, which I generally like and prefer compared to leather materials, but we don't have those plasticky overlays here. So if you look, you can see they are way softer, they are broken in quicker, they're still relatively stiff, but they break in quicker and they feel softer on foot than on the MB4s. Of course, there was also a low version of the MB3 that released. You can see it right here behind me. Also a nice option, and I didn't try the MB4 lows yet, so maybe I'll do a performance review on them. Essentially, performance is like one-to-one copy of the highs, just with a little bit less material right here. Now let's move on to number 2 on the list. Yet again, as the name suggests, the Puma MB2 is my second favorite shoe of the line, which also kind of gives away number 1, but let's stay with the MB2 for now. We have the exact same cushioning setup as on the Freeze, so an EVA midsole with an nitrofoam puck in the heel and in the forefoot. So again, very comfortable setup. These feel a little bit lower to the ground than the Freeze, with slightly better court feel in my personal opinion. And I absolutely loved this shoe back in the day when it first released. I played a lot of games with them. I never used the MB4 in the game. I used the MB3 for like 2 or 3 games 2 years ago. And with those, I really played a handful of games, probably like 10, actually in different colorways. But this is probably the BU colorway, probably still my favorite next to the Rick and Morty collab. I said it before, but the LAMELO line has really always given us some amazing collabs. And that's where I do really appreciate them and also like to show some love, especially when these shoes actually also perform good. And in my opinion, the MB2 was a good performer. The support features are also very, very good. We've got a different lacing system this time, but it still works really well in keeping your foot locked in. We still have a heel corner, you even have an external one here, and we have a shank plate that adds good torsional support, as you can see, hard to twist and turn. The materials are also softer. They do have a kind of plasticky feel. I know you can hear it as well, because there's some overlays for toe draggers, and overall they feel a little bit stiff at first, but they break in very, very nicely. I just haven't worn this colorway as much yet. And the biggest reason why these are better than the 3 and the 4 is because the traction performance was actually way more consistent. Even on slightly dustier courts, you weren't sliding out like crazy. You still had relatively good bite. They had a decent squeak as well. Of course, that has nothing to do with traction performance, but some people like to have that. And I said it already, I kind of gave away number 1, the Puma MB1. It's kind of sad, I want to say, that the first shoe they released was their best shoe to date. But in my opinion, this is hands down the best shoe in the LAMELO Ball line. One thing that's good is that they're still releasing. I mentioned the retail prices. Some of these special colorways, let's put it like this, are more expensive. I think this one retailed for $170 if I'm not totally mistaken. And if you're wondering where you can get them, you can find an affiliate link to Kicks, which is my partner store, or you can just use the code Lucas for a discount. They have all the LAMELO models and still have some older models on sale, or you can also head over to StockX and cop them there. They also have a lot of shoes under retail. You can find the affiliate link in the description box down below. Now let's talk about the MB1. The traction performance was also kind of hit or miss for a lot of people. Translucent outsoles performed way, way better. The pattern is also kind of different compared to the other models, and as you can see, there's actually quite some amounts of dust stuck to the outsole, unfortunately. So dustier courts, these are also not the best, but clean courts, you really get an extremely good bite. And if you wipe, you're also good on dusty courts. Just be aware that the solid rubber outsoles kind of pick up even more dust and just don't bite as hard as the translucent. That's kind of a thing for Puma. Same goes for the All Pro Nitro as well. The cushioning setup is extremely comfortable. You're really like walking on a cloud. Very plush, not the best court feel, but again, an EVA midsole with nitrofoam pucks injected in there. I mentioned the insole before. There's a lot of compression there. Just feels very, very nice underneath your foot. The only thing you gotta watch out for is if heat gets trapped in there, but here the material is also not really breathable, but it feels way better than on the MB4 and all the previous models. They were the softest of the line. They broke in so nicely. You still had some plastic overlays, but because the rest of the upper is pretty soft, it broke in so nicely and it felt very, very nice on foot. All the shoes in the line are a little bit heavier than your average basketball shoes, so you also got to keep that in mind if you're trying to cop a pair, or if you want to cop a pair. And in my opinion, the support features on the MB1 were actually also really, really good. I know there's also a lot of people that didn't like it, but I had no issues. The lacing system worked really well. You can see we have some flywire cables here in the front again, so that's kind of like on the MB3. We didn't have it on the 2, and we have a heel counter and also good torsion support. As you can see, it's hard to bend. The midsole is actually also capsule capsuled on the outside or caged, as you can see those X's. And I also really like just what they did with the design. This colorway is beautiful, and we have kind of this theme here that shows like a rocket launching, which matches LAMELO's tattoo that he's got on his thighs, or on the side of his thighs, and that's just a really cool thing in my opinion. With that being said, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, I would really appreciate if you could leave a like, comment your thoughts on the MB line, and subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss any further reviews. Have a good one and see you next time.